All right, so I've got something just a little different tonight, slightly out of the ordinary and something that nobody else in Columbia does. These are 3 new rackets for Jelani Sarr, one of the players on the South Carolina men's team. And Jelani plays a very specific spec, and in addition to playing a specific spec, he also prefers to have a leather grip. Unfortunately, he needs these rackets now. These rackets are no longer structurally sound, so they're going to become sacrificial rackets, and I'm going to pull the grips off of these, pull the base grips that come off of these new rackets, throw some double-sided tape on, and throw the new leathers on, and then we'll use that starting point for the remainder of his customization and kind of get into that as we go. But in addition to the leather grips, he also prefers to have some lead at 3 and 9 to add some kind of torsional stability to the racket. So if that can be achieved with these frames, because they do tend to come in a little off spec, and I haven't checked them yet because nothing matters until they have the leather on them anyway, we'll get the leather on and see what we got.
So at this point, I started by removing the factory base grips on the new rackets and then removed the leather grips off of the existing rackets, and then threw on some double stick tape and put the leather grips with fresh finishing tape onto the new rackets. As I said previously, they'll likely be replaced with fresh leather grips once I can get those ordered for him, but he needed these in a hurry.
So now that we've got the bad rackets deconstructed and the 3 new ones put together with these very used grips that may end up getting changed out later on anyway once we've got time to get some on order. Like I said previously, he prefers to have some lead on the sides to kind of create some torsional stability. So I've already cut my sections of lead for each of the 3 rackets. And what I'll do to make it kind of have the same effect on these rackets is legitimately just lay them over the top to see where it lines up with the grommets on the frame. And then I'll apply the lead, and then we'll start taking measurements to get the rackets where they need to be based off of whether or not they can sustain the lead on the sides and still be able to get the overall weight, the balance point, and the swing weight. But we'll see what we got here.
So as you can see, I'm lining the rackets up and putting the lead on the sides of the racket. Once I've added the lead to the side of each racket, I took the static weight, the balance point, and the swing weight to get a baseline with the weight at 3 and 9. And then I also started installing the lead at 12 o'clock, either on the frame or under the grommet strips to achieve the desired swing weight.
All right, so a couple different things in that last clip. One of the rackets has been used just lightly, like strung one time, but whoever strung it used a starting knot instead of a regular tie-off knot, so it flared one of the grommets pretty badly, and I didn't want to take the grommet strip out and then for whatever reason not be able to get it back in case I couldn't mold that particular grommet back. So one of the rackets has exposed lead, the other 2, it's under the bumper guard. Based on the measurements I took after applying the leather grips to them, impressively, the swing weights were all exactly the same. They were all 292, and that's with the 4 grams of lead at 3 and 9. They were all 292, which would mean they were all exactly the same prior to the lead application. So that makes getting to the swing weight pretty easy, and I established that with the weight under the grommets and at the top of the frame on this one. Now it's just a matter of getting to his actual static weight. Once I added the weight under the grommet strip on racket number 2, that brought it up to enough static weight for it to come out to exactly what his spec is. So racket number 2 is in the rack and it's done. Rackets number 1 and number 3 I need to continue to work on. And to do that, to add the weight, unfortunately, Tecnifibre doesn't make a removable butt cap. It's molded into the actual cap piece, and you can't just pop it off and shove some cotton and some silicone in there and call it good enough. So I'll actually have to unwrap these leather grips that I just put on and place some lead on the handles to get them to the correct overall mass and to get the balance point correct. For one of the rackets, for number 3, this guy, it's not much weight. At this point, it's going to be 1.75 grams, 2 grams. For racket 1, it still needs another 6 grams. So racket 1's going to take a reasonable amount of lead. Racket 3, really nothing to it. But we'll show the finished product in just a minute.
My preferred methodology to add weight to the handle would be to remove the trap door and put in cotton and silicone. But with these Tecnifibres, you have to take the entire butt cap off, and that's just a huge process. And then you have to reattach it and make sure it stays seated, and I didn't want to do that, so we just put the lead on the handles. And finally, Jelani wanted a racket strung for practice tomorrow so that he didn't have to use one of his old frames. So I know he uses Torbite, and I sent him a text asking for his tension and got it set up for him to be returned in the morning so that he had something to practice with.